Hey everyone, it's Jen with Spirited Saturdays, and this week we are talking about resisting the internalization of the ideal, whether that be the ideal body image, the ideal body, the ideal work role, the ideal role as a student, or anything else in your life that you feel warrants, that you feel that you need to measure against an ideal and internalize, and that I think is it can be it can be even more pronounced in somebody with an eating disorder or somebody who struggles with any kind of mental illness, because there is that urge to compare and that urge to disempower yourself based on what you feel you ought to be, and so much of that stuff is not real. So yeah, and I did forget to mention last week that we're doing a theme, kind of like an umbrella theme of a broader topic, which is the development of healthy self image and healthy body image and healthy self image. So over the like 3 or 4 weeks, we're doing a little bit of a different um, where each topic is it's going to be divided into several topics under that greater theme. So I wanted to speak about something real quick in lieu of the doing your best piece of this topic. I myself have had kind of a rough night, but it didn't involve it was I was crying. I don't know if you could tell. It's been a little bit of it's been like an hour, so I don't know if it still shows, but I feel like it's good to talk about how you feel in general. And I would hope to encourage others to talk about how they feel, because then whatever you're doing, wherever you're coming from, if you have a certain task to do, if you have something that you want to do that you feel is important to your role in your life, then nothing is irrelevant and nothing is like, oh crap, I was crying, how am I going to make the video? It's more of like, how can I use that emotional experience I had earlier to make this particular video that I am making right now special? How can that strengthen it? How can I add that? How can I build that in? Or how can how can I draw from that? So it always serves a purpose. Feelings serve a purpose, which is good to remember, because we're so quick sometimes to go on autopilot with eating disorder behaviors. So feelings always serve a purpose. You should always build them into your day and use them as fuel to do whatever you do, even if you weren't thinking that was the ideal way to approach something. Yeah, all right. I want to mention real quick. I did a video on the book Maggie Goes on a Diet, which is I feel ties into this whole thing, because it's about we're talking about resisting the ideal, and Maggie Goes on a Diet is about bullying and about how Maggie feels that she needs to lose weight in order to be accepted by her peers, and it's about it's catered towards 6 to 10-year-old girls, or I guess it would be girls, yeah. So I made a video just kind of commenting on the responses that I got to the video that I made. I made 2 videos, and the second video was a response to the comments I got on the first video, which were a little disturbing or disheartening, or because some of those comments were agreeing with the message of the book. So I felt that I wanted to make a video, and it does tie into this whole theme of accepting yourself. So if you'd like, I'll leave the link if you would like to watch that video. I clarify a lot of the points that I was trying to make on on resisting that ideal and embracing your own unique self, basically. So that's that. Alright, so I want to touch on the following. I feel like in life we tolerate certain things. We feel like, for me, it seems absurd to me now, the things that I have felt that I've needed to tolerate. So, I have tried to push my way past certain points that didn't feel natural anymore force my way through things or pretend that I was okay when I wasn't. But the truth is that when it comes to building self-acceptance and identifying what works for you and what your good enough is, think about what is coming naturally to you to tolerate. I mean, just as an example, it's a little bit of a spin-off, but my therapist years ago advised me to think about taking a medication for panic attacks, and she said that she's the first person I've heard this idea from, having, thinking about what you can tolerate. So she introduced this to me years ago, and she said, some things in life we can tolerate, and other things we shouldn't have to tolerate. So panic attacks, you don't have to tolerate them. So think about ways that you can, make it a little easier for yourself. So, so then I needed to accept there had to be a meeting of my internal persistence and trying to get through them and trying to really push, and then the outside help. And the medication, it did make it easier. And I'm not advocating medication. That's not the purpose of this whole thing. But that was my personal example of hey, wait, this doesn't have to be as hard as I'm letting it be. So wherever you are, when you hit the level of when things start to get uncomfortable, and you feel like you're pushing unnaturally hard, and I don't mean necessary training for something that you love and adore, and that you love hating it, but and it's driving you. But I mean pushing at an unnatural place that hurts more than it gives you pleasure. If you're dreading something, really try to stop and breathe and take account of what's really going on. Take a look at where you are, what you're doing, and tell yourself that it's okay to be at peace with stopping whatever it is you're doing, changing it, talking to somebody about it. You don't have to keep it in. You're never alone in that either. So it can feel very isolating. So yeah, you always have that option to reach out and to change your course, and to accept that whatever you've tried to do and what you've done is what you can do. So and that I'm not necessarily just applying that to the panic attacks. I mean, but in that way, it would apply to the panic attack, just in that I've done all I could do, and now I have to accept that there's something outside that can help make it easier for me. That I don't really need to make this effort. And it's hurting me to make the effort at this point. So, but that can apply to many things. I mean, that can apply to rigorous activity, school, work. I mean, anything where you feel like you've done what you can. If it's a matter of getting a bachelor's degree and not a master's degree, or or if you feel like, oh, I've made my way through this so far, I just have to push through my last year, but it's literally killing you. You have the option to either take some time off. I did that. I took time off in my undergrad, and plenty of time off between my undergrad and a program that I'm doing now. So, it's okay, and everybody goes at their own pace. Often we worry about disappointing people. Remember that they are human too, and that they have had their setbacks as well, and there's no shame in being honest. Last year I had to take time off of work to go into treatment, and I was terrified of telling my boss, and but I did, and I was falling to pieces to it, thinking that, I don't know, something horrible was going to happen, and I was all of a sudden, I don't know, she was going to rip me a new one, and she was going to lose respect for me or something. But she actually responded like a human being and worked with me. And so granted, not everybody will be this gracious and empathic, but that's where your dignity comes in, and that's where you have to remind yourself that there are opposing forces out there who will help you. I'm just reading from what I wrote here. If somebody is not letting you be yourself or do what is necessary to take care of yourself, then that person ought to take a good look in the mirror, and it's not your responsibility to lead them to that mirror. It's only your responsibility to take care of yourself, and then take proactive steps to surround yourself with people who will discount the indifference or selfishness of others while reinforcing your own deservingness of help. To shift shift settings a little bit here. Say you're this is okay. Actually, this can apply to I play music, right? And when I play music, I try to accept and embrace, actually not just accept, but embrace difference. So everybody's unique, and everything about you, even when you do it from one time to the next, is different, is unique from one time to the next. And just when I play music, I play different nuances every time. I don't judge a performance based on whether I played the exact correct notes or the identical thing from one time to the next. And there's no such thing as perfection in that kind of performance. It depends on the energy of the room, it depends on the people, it depends on the order that I've chosen to play the songs. It just depends on so many different things, and my own mood, and what is, striking me at that moment, and what I'm thinking about, and all that, what I'm drawing, what reserves I'm drawing on. So try to embrace that uniqueness about the quality of the moment. It's no two moments will be identical, and every time you do something, it could take on a whole new meaning and a whole new life. So try to really draw on that about yourself. Try to really enjoy that about yourself. If you're in school, so this to shift to school here, because I know that that can be a driving force of perfection, and so many people who are already perfectionists, that can just make it so much more intense. But say you're in school and you're having a class discussion, pay attention to what grabs you. Don't try to comment like another person. So if you notice something special in the way that somebody else comments, try to respond to that with your own unique voice, and don't measure yourself against it. Just piggyback on it and let it excite you and let it stimulate you, and piggyback on it with your own voice, and just focus on adding color to it, enriching the conversation. No two people can be alike, and that's a good thing. So just notice what grabs you, and notice how you are initially tempted to respond, and just go with that intuition. And also just remember, like if you're in school and say you're like, you're doing a paper, try not to get too hung up on perfecting try to connect it to the like every piece of that paper is connected to a greater purpose for your ultimately your career, your direction. And so try not to get too hung up on the tiny little specifics. I hear people in class asking, like, well, if it's in a certain format, what happens if we don't exactly adhere to that format, every time, will my grade get deducted? And the teacher kind of always comes back with the same answer. Different teachers have said similar things, which is just, the important thing is that you have the general format down, and this is serving a purpose so that when you go out into the world and you write papers, you can already have, like, it'll feel natural to you. There'll be a rhythm to it, So right now, it doesn't matter. This one particular paper, if you write a period in the wrong place, you're not going to get penalized, but over the course of doing this over and over again, it will, the goal is for the general format and the idea and the reason that you're doing it, to all kind of sink in, so that you can apply it in real world paper writing when you leave. And that this could be a part of that. This doesn't have to be separate either from the stuff that you do when you leave school. So just make connections to what you're writing, how you're writing it, how it's serving a purpose, and furthering your goal of making an imprint on the world. And just think of the format stuff as that's standard. That can be repeated, but not. But that only goes so far. All the other things that you're writing, they have a purpose, and so just try to remember that you can still maintain your purpose in a paper that has formats, and that purpose can't ever be perfect, and that's what's beautiful about it. So. Just let it drive you forward. Let it just keep defining your own purpose, your own unique qualities, and don't worry about anything standard unless it's like just really, really basic stuff that but don't let it drive you bananas. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to mess up, and just try to remember what you're really doing, why you're really doing that. All right. So yeah, I guess that's it. And I know this wasn't my best video here, but I'm going to go ahead and click record or stop. Okay, bye.